Another day, another child to save from their, insanity. Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So, that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that all being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 9 of Sanda. And this is actually the first thing I'm recording after coming back from a convention this past weekend. I'm a little tired, my shoulders are a little stiff. I'm not as bad as I have been in the past in terms of, pain. But I'm still gonna probably be occasionally massaging my neck and shoulders, so just be prepared for that. But yeah, yesterday's Fiona and Cake that you saw was actually recorded the week prior. I recorded it the week prior just so I'd be absolutely sure it would go up on time. So yeah, on the Patreon, mind you. You're seeing this a week after this has gone live on Patreon, so yeah. So it's actually been a week and a couple days since I came back from the convention for when you're seeing this, because pre-thoughts are only for YouTube. Anyway, we left off with some pretty crazy shit going down. Most notably, this psycho killer girl completely unloading on Oshibu. And I think it's pretty clear we're going to save her. We're going to be able to break through all the very obvious trauma and pain and just fucked up mental state that she's been put in because of the society's view on all of this, on children, on adults versus children, and so much else. It's it's pretty clear that she and a lot of these other kids, a lot of these characters are, they're victims. And their actions are caused by what the society has kind of pushed into them. These ideas, these thoughts, these just horrific viewpoints on life. And I feel like this series is obviously trying to send quite a few messages in regards to the overall vibe of what you're supposed to be seeing with it. Because this is clearly tackling government overreach and this insane level of control that the government typically tries to have on society and especially the youth. And this goes for a lot of different countries. It's not just America. It's not just Japan. But like, think about it. The government wants to reach the youth because they want to spread their beliefs, no matter which side we're talking about. Any side, any political party wants to spread their beliefs to the younger generations. This will allow them to, bolster their numbers and get their messages continuing to be spread as time goes on. Thankfully, in the modern era, more and more young people, whether full-on kids, whether teens, whether young adults, a lot more are starting to realize how bullshit this entire thing is. Both from just the government trying to influence them, as well as just, the government pretty much anywhere being kind of shit. And so a lot of younger people nowadays are starting to put that all together, and it's allowing them to kind of break out of that like intended mold. There's a lot more people who are like kind of denying the entire like almost requirement, as it's kind of painted in America, of being either Democrat or Republican. A lot of younger people are now seeing that it's like, one, you don't have to choose between either of them. There are other choices, and there's even the choice of pretty much no choice. But on top of that, people are realizing that it's like, oh, both of these parties are terrible. They both suck ass. One much more so than the other, and more dangerously than the other, but still, I don't really want to be part of either. That's what these kids are now thinking. And so many of them are kind of abandoning the two-party system. Unfortunately, this also leads to a really low voting turnout, which has caused two terms of problems, we'll say, in the recent years here in America. And it's unfortunately a thing that is almost impossible to shift at this point. Because the problem is these kids, because they're starting to like realize how corrupt and rigged and just fucked up this system is, the less you're going to be able to convince them of any desire or any reason to vote. Because it's like, even if they see one political side being worse than the other, they're still going to be on the side of like, well, I can't vote for a side I think is bad just because the other side is worse. I still don't feel right in my conscience doing that. And you can't exactly tell them they're wrong. But voting for the lesser of two evils is unfortunately the only choice we really have. Because abstaining hurts. Excuse me. Abstaining hurts more than it helps. It ends up like pushing things towards the worst side, which is what we've seen happen in two separate elections now. And don't worry, this entire rant is relevant. Just to make that clear real quick. But yeah, it sucks. Because there's so much that is being like guided for the kids in this series that there's not really a side versus side situation here. It's not even that simple. In this kind of thing, that's just what it is. That's what the government has done. Period. It's done. It's handled. You basically have to live with it. And the problem with that ideology is that forcing these kids to grow up in a world that does this um, is just taking not just a toll on their mental health, but absolutely destroying it. Because it's not healthy. Nothing about how this society is run in this series is healthy. It's so aggressively fucked up. And I just feel like we're not gonna it's not gonna be something that we're gonna just be able to change like that. I think the more likely outcome of this series is going to be helping these kids like find hope, find autonomy, find their own identities in spite of what they're being told, in spite of the control the government is trying to have on them. Because if enough of these kids just start fucking rebelling, what are the adults going to do? Because they're, by their own rules, they can't hurt these kids. These kids are the future generation. They're like excessively important. So it's like they can't just like take out all the kids or threaten them or anything. And it's one of those situations where I feel like it's going to be more about like just, again, everyone kind of just standing up to the system. And it's going to be obviously done through Santa. Sanda is going to be able to bring the magic of Christmas, the magic of Santa Claus, back to this society. These kids are going to see that and they're going to like embrace it. And that's the best we could really hope for, unless some other kind of thing presents itself. But for now, it's all we've really got. Last episode had some really good stuff with Nico. And I'm really starting to like her as a character a lot. She's really fun and hilarious and ridiculous. She has such a loud personality. The kind of which, like, in real life, I would probably have trouble connecting with. Just on a personal basis, because I tend to be very quiet and timid. And when somebody around me is, like, being super loud and abrasive and all, even if they're doing so in a very, you know, kind, gentle, like, nice way, it's something that I just kind of freeze at. I just kind of, like, lock up and don't know what to do. So, I guess, for the time being, we're going to have to see, like, where this continues to go. But this one girl, I still can't remember her name. I apologize. I'm definitely thinking she's at least going to be saved in kind of maybe even join the group in the same way that everyone else has. She might not be like as important as others, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it right now. And I'm all good with that. I'm all good if we can like get this girl in a much safer headspace. Not only for herself, but, you know, for everyone around her. Considering how just quick to violence and, like, horrific murder she is. Now, she's definitely going to find out Sanda is Santa Claus at some point. And I'm very curious about that, too, because how are they going to do that reveal? That's the question. And what's she going to think about that? Because her entire thing is she's almost kind of got it out for adults and all, right? Like, there's not really been much of her, like, trying to actually kill kids. Like, all the students were in that room because they killed adults, specifically. I guess we'll just have to see. But these pre-thoughts have gone on long enough because of my big ol' rant, because I tend to do that. I think we should get on with the reaction and see what we have in store. But before we do, real quick, I do want to remind you once again that we have a Patreon now. We just started at the beginning of the year, and because it's so new, because we're still trying to get things off the ground, I do want to continue to just reiterate its existence. So for those of you who are able and willing, the Patreon has early access to all reactions. That counts for series reactions, movie reactions, specialty. All reactions will be put on Patreon a week ahead of time from YouTube. And depending on your tier, depends on which type of reactions you get. Starting at the $5 tier, you get movie reactions. The $10 tier adds in series reactions, and so on and so forth. And everything will eventually come to YouTube. It's just a matter of you getting them early on the Patreon. You will also get the ability to vote in exclusive polls depending on your tier. You'll get the ability to choose things for me to specifically react to in the future, and so on and so forth. A lot of cool rewards that are all like listed in their entirety on the Patreon page, which is linked in the description below. It really helps me out. This is like something I do full time, and so I want to be able to continue to do it full time. And it helps out like being able to deal with that. So if you're not able to, if you don't have the money, that's completely fair and understandable. It's completely optional, but any amount does help. There is also a support tier if you're not really able to donate enough for one of the larger tiers. There's a $1 support tier. Even that can help. Everything adds up. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Now let's get to today's reaction. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I want to make clear with what I said at the end of the reaction. When I was saying that this episode was like giving me no positive like feelings or whatnot, I don't want to like have that misconstrued as I think this was a bad episode or I'm like really upset after this episode in that kind of regard. This was definitely the best episode yet because it made me feel as hard as it did. And I've talked about this before, but the big things for me in any series or any movie, any game, outside of like things that are meant to be like less, for lack of a better way of putting it, like, you know, how like some games are meant to just be silly little puzzle games, or there's some like little slice of life comedy shows that aren't meant to have a lot of depth to them. Unless it's something like that, the thing I tend to look toward the most with almost any piece of media I'm interacting with is story and character. To me, those matter more than animation, voice acting, art style, etc., etc. If the story and character are good and enthralling to me, that's what matters. That's what truly gets me invested in a show. And when you have an episode like this that focuses so much on character depth, that is in turn like created from the events and lore of the story, like that's really good shit to me. Like that's like premium S grade shit. Just the best of the best. But the emotions I feel when watching stuff like this are as authentic as they can really be for me. And what I mean is that when I get angry, when I get sad while watching episodes like this, like that's genuine rage and sorrow. Even if I like the episode, even if it's like something that like I really appreciate how they handled it, how they wrote it, etc., etc., that anger and that sorrow is still real. Not just in that moment, but afterwards as well. And that's what makes this so impactful to me. That's what makes it so powerful. Because I can find an episode, a show, a game, a movie, etc., to be that level of quality, that S grade level of quality, while the same piece of media just absolutely destroys me, just hurts me like I did something wrong and earned that kind of hatred. I don't know. You know what I'm getting at. But it's like I'm actively being attacked by stuff like this. And where a lot of people in that kind of situation would think to like beg for that pain to stop, I not only welcome it, but I encourage it. I ask for more. And it's because those emotions are what makes me love this episode so much. And I to a degree, knew they were coming. My sorrow, my rage, like all of this, it's like I knew this stuff was going to come with Fumi's with Fumi's character and backstory and everything. I knew there was going to be something more to like her killing adults than just, being a psychopathic murderer. And I knew like once we actually delved into that, it was going to upset me, and it did. And I could already tell based on the previous episodes that it's like the more we continued to dive into Ono and Fuyamura, the more that was going to upset me as well. Because it's very clear, like, with the discussions, I believe it was last episode, of Ono leaving the school until it can be made into a place where she can fit in again. Till Sanda can do that for her. I knew that, like, there was going to be a lot of upsetting dialogue and moments coming with her and Fuyamura, and yeah, got that this episode. And then at the end, of course, you also have Oshibu approaching Ono, and that's just fucking terrifying and upsetting, and I don't like that at all. And he's like, let's talk, one adult to another. And it's like, she's not an adult just because she has boobs now. That's not how this works. And it's just like, every time they say this shit, just because she went through puberty and has tits does not mean she's an adult. She is a child. She is still a child. Oh my god, she's still like 14 years old. That is still a child. It doesn't matter if she's like physically growing up because of puberty. But it's just like it left me off on like such a sour like emotion. a mix of like the sorrow, slight anger, and fear at what they're doing with Ono and Fuyamura, but also the anger with Oshibu showing up. It's just it's just negative emotion, pure negative emotion. And I hate it, and I don't like it, and it makes me feel bad. But I also love it because it's also extremely good, like, character work. And before we get into the stuff with I said her name and now I can't think of it again. Oh my god, what the fuck is wrong with me? How? How does my brain just refuse to work properly? Give me a second here. You know what? I can look it up probably easier on my phone. Sanda, psycho girl name? No, not Fuyamura. You leave her alone. No, the other one. Not Amaya. Fumi. Fumi Namatame. Jesus, try to remember this. Okay, Fumi. Before we get into the stuff with her, I do want to quickly, like, we're going to go kind of in reverse, I guess. I want to talk about, I want to talk about Fuyamura and Ono. Because there's going to be some people who got, like, who saw this scene and everything and are probably going to complain, or even there might be some people watching this who might be, like, confused that I'm not complaining about it. And I want to explain real quick. So I am very against how a lot of anime tends to over sexualize, like, underage characters, most notably girls, of course, but I'm very against this to the point where there's, like, some shows that I genuinely can't watch because they disgust me, like, beyond belief. One of the biggest ones being Kill la Kill, as an example. Um, it's it's a situation where it bothers the shit out of me, especially when the show tries to paint it as being a good thing, like owning your autonomy and shit. It's like it's a child. Calm down. These are children. We do not need to be having that conversation right now. But anyway, the point is, there might be some people who would expect me to be, like, really upset at the scene there close to the end of Ono, like, flashing her breasts to Fuyamura and coercing Fuyamura to strip as well and everything. But I'm not only not upset at that scene playing out like that, but I actually think that there's no other way it could have played out. I think it needed to happen that way because of the context of the characters. And it was not done in a fan servicey way at all, which is good. It is clear that the mangaka, I assume, presuming that it was done pretty much the same in the manga, the mangaka clearly didn't want to paint this as something the viewer is supposed to be appealed to. No, that's not what you're supposed to get from this. Ono is a broken girl who, because of everything she's been taught, how she's been raised, how the society acts around her, she is a broken girl who has come to this conclusion that she has become an adult simply because she hit her puberty. And because she's been brought to this conclusion, her already existing romantic feelings for Fuyamura have been heightened, and she's basically not Fuyamura, but Ono. She's basically acting out because she wants Fuyamura to reciprocate her feelings and make her feel valid. Because this is a world where, again, everything is being like set up for them, including their marriages. Their marriages are being set up in order to preserve the future of humanity. And so, just the idea of her being gay in the first place, of her having sexual thoughts towards another girl, it, let's be honest, scares her. And she's looking for validation. She wants Fuyamura to validate this. She wants Fuyamura to love her back because that would mean that there's a reason for her for Ono to have these thoughts. That would mean that they are real if it can be reciprocated. The only problem is she's throwing this at Fuyamura so quickly because she's so desperate for that validation that it's confusing and scaring and just, it's too intense for Fuyamura. She can't handle all of this at once. And so with that and her desire to like still maintain her identity as a child and everything, she kind of lashes out here. She panics. And when she reaches Sanda and everything, she even tells him that she feels like the old Ono is gone. And she's begging for Sanda to be able to bring back the Ono that she did love. Because it's undeniable, she absolutely loves the shit out of her. But having this thrust upon her so quickly, it's like it doesn't give her a chance to process any emotions. It doesn't give her the chance to process what's even happening in the moment. And so she's at this point where she just wants to have that same relationship that she and Ono did before, where they made each other feel safe and seen, without having these lofty expectations forced on them by anyone, honestly. She wants the old Ono back because that's who she fell in love with. This new Ono, whose personality has, like, changed because of her own fears and concerns and everything. It's scaring Fuyamura. And so the entire question of, like, about Santa turning an adult back into a kid, it's like literally speaking, no, that's not a thing that can happen here. But that's not what we're trying to do. It's clearly more of a, like, not metaphorical, but more of a, like, ideology / personality change. The idea would be, like, to make Ono back into her old self in terms of her personality and character and just vibes. And so that's not easy to do, because there's so many aspects that go into that with Ono's own traumas. And in the end, that's what a lot of this series really just focuses so much on. Trauma. Physical trauma, mental and emotional trauma. Trauma that is, like, you know, like, put forth by the state. Trauma that comes from horrible, like, events and moments. all kinds of stuff. And so I'm very, very curious to see how much more depth they take this in. Because I genuinely believe that they could make this, like, amazing in that regard. And I have faith that that is what's going to happen. But we have to see. So I'm really, really loving what they did here. Because the Ono, like, flashing Fuyamura and then, like, coercing her to strip too was more symbolic of Ono is trying to bear all of her truth to the one person that she wants to know it all. But again, she's been twisted and messed up by this entire system. And I don't think she knows what that truth is anymore. And coercing Fuyamura to do the same when Fuyamura is clearly not ready for that is showcasing just a lot of her own pain, but also how she's just trying to push Fuyamura into doing what she wants her to do. She's seeing Fuyamura more for that, like, carnal, physical love than for the reasons that she fell in love with her in the first place. It wasn't just about her looks. Like, Ono's hit puberty. She's a teenager. She's going to have those feelings. A lot of her feelings are going to be very physically based. I was a teenager once too. I understand what that was like. I went through that. But the problem is Ono isn't, like, processing it in any kind of healthy way because, again, the system isn't letting her. The system is telling her that doing that kind of thing would only cause to hurt her in the end. And so, yeah, it's kind of just this fucked up situation that we need to, like, really fix rather than just trying to, you know, act around it. I don't know how, I'm not good at wording things exactly. There's other people who could word it a lot better than me, but yeah. And you also have the stuff at the beginning with Sanda training with the director and her, like, teaching him about Black Santa, which is just Santa in a black outfit instead of a red one, and is more physically aggressive and whatnot in terms of combat. But the lessons she's teaching him, I think she's, like, meaning more than she's letting on, because the lessons she's kind of teaching about, you know, having the strength to be able to even fight a old woman or a child or whatnot, it's like that kind of, I think it's more the idea of that chivalrous attitude is going to get you killed. You need to know when to fight, when to, you know, extend your hand, when to just do each specific kind of action that would come from this kind of situation. Because, like, she's talking about how with, like, Oshibu, he obviously needs to fight, but also she's mentioning Fumi. And it's just like, we don't want to fight her. And I'll get more into that in a bit, but we absolutely don't want to do that. And so we have to find out, like, some other kind of method. And Sanda's trying to figure this out and everything. Because he doesn't, like, know her backstory at that point. But, he doesn't want to hurt her. He still sees her as a victim, as a kid in all of this, which is correct. And so I'm curious to learn more about like the director's kind of view on all of this moving forward. But we then get to the big part of the episode that kind of broke me and made me, cry. I knew that Fumi's backstory was going to upset me greatly. Like, that was just obvious. But it was very, very upsetting. I was not having a good time. Because it's like her father and her brother left because her mother was like so dedicated to this like ideology against like becoming old that she kept having plastic surgery over and over again to hide like her aging, like Oshibu does. But the one thing she couldn't change is the hands, like Oshibu. And so Fumi had like grown to love her mother's hands, because the hands were like the one part of her that was real. It was the one part that like really felt warm and connected. And Fumi even learned to like put on a fake smile and like deal with everything else because she loved her mother and wanted to, always be able to hold those hands. And then, without warning, without any kind of warning, one day, like while they're together, like Fumi grabs her mother's hands, and the mother, without warning, chops the one hand off with the other. Out of nowhere. Scaring the absolute dickens out of both me and this young girl, her daughter. And tries to explain, it's like, oh, but these are the one things that will never be beautiful and young, and I've got to just get rid of them. And it shows how much the mother was affected by this societal expectation as well, and how much she was a victim too. But the moment, because of how she held those hands in regard, made Fumi completely snap, and without like necessarily wanting to. It definitely isn't something she wanted to do, but she snapped. Her mind broke, and she killed her mom just instinctively in that moment. And so she would go on to kill other adults because her mind just became fractured due to the event. And she started, like, kind of trying to rationalize it. And it just evolved more and more as time went on into this like hatred of adults and whatnot, and it's just really fucking sad. And it confirms to me kind of like what, in my eyes, one of the biggest goals and highlights of this series is, and is going to be going forward, and that is, of course, saving these fucking children. Like, protecting and saving them from this society that is mistreating them and horrifically, like, just giving them complexes everywhere, every which way. So, yeah, it's just that entire backstory. It's like that was like that was an Eiichiro Oda level backstory. That was a One Piece level backstory. Like that shit fucked me up in the best way, because it made me care about Fumi, a character who prior to this, it's like I was empathetic towards, but I didn't really care for. But now it's like I'm practically on the verge of like breaking down, because if Sanda doesn't save this girl, I'm going to cry more. So it's like I just really want this to work out. And again, from what we've seen of this series so far, that seems to be kind of the recurring main theme and idea, and so I'm assuming it's going to, at least to some degree. But we shall see. I, I I feel like there's just a lot to unpack that we just need more information on and need to see more of Fumi dealing with all of this for. But I think Sanda's going to do the right thing, and I think he's going to work to continue to help out Fuyamura and Ono, and of course, like he wants to help. Oh my god, why am I shit with names? I still have the page up, thankfully. Amaya. He wants to help Amaya too, but kind of forcing Amaya to shoot him and become a skilled gunman is like, what the fuck? That's not very Santa of you. That's kind of fucked, actually. Kind of forcing him into that. I understand he wanted Amaya to do it because they're friends and he trusts Amaya and everything. And yeah, he's even trying to assure Amaya during it. It's like, don't worry, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to get hurt. Well, I'm going to get hurt, but I'm not going to die. I'm going to heal and everything. He's trying to encourage it by telling him, it's like, you're not going to actually kill me. No worries. And it's like, Amaya's pretty much saying the entire time, it's like, I'm a kid, dude. I should not be doing this. I should not be handling a gun. I should not be shooting my friend just because he's asking me to. And Amaya even keeps mentioning afterwards, it's like, I'm gonna have a complex now. I'm gonna be fucked up over this. And it's like, yeah, probably. It just I don't think Sanda should have done that. That felt a little mean. But yeah, this episode was phenomenal and very upsetting, and phenomenal because it was very upsetting. But I would love to hear your thoughts. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of Sanda? And thank you, as always, so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.